Hi, my name is Jake, and I'm going to talk to you about the FLQ crisis, also known as the October Crisis. This took place in October 1970. One of the direct causes of the FLQ crisis was the imprisonment of 23 FLQ political prisoners. This was not an intended cause of the FLQ crisis. These men were just brought in to prosecute them. This cause took place over a fairly short term, and the reasoning behind it was political. The police wanted to send the message that the FLQ was not untouchable. If this cause was handled differently, the whole crisis could have been averted. An indirect cause of the FLQ crisis was that the FLQ was formed. This was an unintended cause of the crisis. I'm sure when they formed, they didn't say, hey, we're going to start a crisis in a couple years from now. This took place over a fairly short time in the course of history, I suppose, and the reasoning behind it was cultural. They thought that their culture wasn't being respected, the culture of the French wasn't being respected by the English, and that everyone just thought they were a joke, so they decided to form the FLQ. Maybe if things were handled differently, like maybe if English respected the French at the start, this whole thing wouldn't have happened. Let's move on to some consequences. A direct consequence of the FLQ crisis was the FLQ lost support. This happened because of the murder of Pierre Laporte. This was an unintended consequence of the FLQ crisis. They didn't want to lose support, they just wanted their political prisoners back. This affected the FLQ for a long time. It actually caused their downfall. This reason was political. The supporters didn't believe in what the FLQ was doing anymore. They didn't like their tactics, didn't like the way they ran. If this was handled differently, if they hadn't killed Laporte, maybe they would still have support. An indirect consequence to the FLQ crisis was the War Measures Act was changed. It was changed to the Emergency Act. This happened in 1988. The FLQ crisis showed how the act imposed on human rights, and that some aspects of it needed to be changed. This was an unintended consequence. The government put the War Measures Act in place to protect people and not to show everyone its flaws. And it is a long-term consequence. The new version of it is still in place today. This is a political consequence because it changed the government policy. Maybe if the crisis didn't happen, then the act wouldn't have been reviewed and changed. Well, hope you learned something.